Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, always ready to help. Therefore we will not be afraid. Let the earth tremble, and the mountains tumble, though the waters roar and foam, though the mountains shake because of its surging waves. There is a river whose streams shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. God is in the midst of her, she shall not be moved. God will help her, and that right early. The nations raged, the kingdoms were moved. He raised his voice, and the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Come, see the works of the Lord, what desolations he has made on the earth. He makes wars to cease until the end of the earth. He breaks the arrows and shatters the spears. He burns the chariot with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted on the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. This psalm helps us to acknowledge God as a refuge and strength during trouble. In everyday life, you might find yourself in concerning troubles that may include financial stress, health concerns, job insecurity, or relationship conflicts. When the psalmist shows the chaos, as earth giving way, mountains collapsing, it mirrors the overwhelming feelings of ourselves losing control, such as when a diagnosis disrupts our plans or a family argument feels insuperable. This psalm counsels us to turn to God as a first response to distress. Instead of succumbing to fear, we can find emotional and spiritual shelter in prayer, meditation, and scripture, trusting God's constant presence. If you find yourself anxious at this moment with a difficult deadline, a sickness, oppression, lack of resources, you might pause to pray and seek God's strength to face the challenges. The declaration, "We will not be afraid," encourages us to a mindset shift from panic to confidence. You should reflect on God's reliability. Remember all moments that the Lord sent his divine provision to you. He might be using crises as opportunities so you can trust him. The river symbolizes God's peace and provision, available even in turbulent times of our lives. This psalm counsels us to anchor ourselves in God's presence, which ensures stability, as in, she will not fall. So you might involve daily spiritual practices, reading scripture, worship, and gratitude to cultivate inner peace. For instance, if you're a parent overwhelmed by a child's behavior, you could find solace in brief moments of prayer, trusting God's help. The sentence, "The Lord of hosts is with us," encourages us to affirm God's nearness by declaring, affirming, or visualizing him as a fortress. The image of God's voice causing the earth to melt reassures us that external chaos, whether news headlines or workplace drama, is under divine control. Focusing on God's sovereignty helps us to release the need to control the outcomes, reducing stress, and help us to reconnect with God's calming presence. God's power to bring peace and his call to be still is very reassuring about his care. In everyday life, wars might represent internal battles or external conflicts, but the invitation to come and see God's works encourages us to reflect on his past faithfulness, while "Be Still" addresses the frenetic pace of modern life, endless to-do lists, social media noise, or overthinking. This psalm counsels us to pause and trust God's sovereignty. Practically, this might mean setting aside time for silence, meditation, or unplugging from distractions to focus on God's authority. If you feel overwhelmed by a packed schedule, overthinking, anxiety, sickness, difficult relationships, lack of resources, you could start practicing right now and keep declaring, "God is in control here, right now." The call to know that I am God encourages us to surrender our worries, such as by taking some time and entrusting them to God in prayer. The assurance that God makes wars cease is a comfort when we feel embattled, reminding us that God can resolve conflicts and bring peace. Sometimes it's hard, but we all should turn to God first when in trouble, using prayer and scripture to find safety and strength. Our goal should be to anchor everything in God's presence through praises to counter external chaos. We need to always trust that God reigns over all challenges, freeing us from the need to fix everything. Because when we remind ourselves that the Lord of hosts is with us, the confidence in God's nearness will be all we need to know that everything will end well.